Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Today we will get started with Azure Cloud. So before that, I wanted to check you can answer in the chat. Have you gone through the cloud computing getting started playlist? So if you go to the CloudRigs YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@CloudRigs, and then go to playlist and then go to cloud computing getting started part 1 and part 2. There are just two videos in this playlist. These are cloud fundamentals, or better call it as road to cloud. Part one is road to cloud and cloud deployment models, and part two is cloud abstractions and cloud features or benefits. Both of these are generic, but it talks about a lot of things that can help you learn any cloud such as Azure or AWS better. So if you haven't gone through it, you can simply say N. That is fine. Okay, good. So most of you have gone through it. So just in case, if you haven't gone through it, please go through both of these at the earliest and just confirm in our study group. So as you can see, this is 1 hour 20 minutes and part 1 is 55 minutes. So around 2 hours, right? This can help your cloud learning in a better way. So when you say Azure account, so let us quickly search for Azure account in Google. If I search for Azure account, you'll see Microsoft Azure account link and a few other links. If I click on the Microsoft Azure account, it will take me to the Azure account page, and I have this option to try Azure for free. So when you say a free tier Azure account, what does it mean? If I come here, I see two things here, right? Azure free account and pay as you go. So if you are completely new to Azure Cloud, what will you assume? I have a Azure free account and I have something called as pay as you go. First assumption is definitely I'll have to pay something here and I don't have to pay something here. So if you have worked with different cloud providers such as AWS or Google or somebody else, when you create a account, it will ask you for credit card details, and that account will be associated with those credit card details. But with Azure, when you create a account, two things happen. First, an Azure tenant is created. Second, an Azure subscription is created. So two things, a tenant and a subscription. A tenant is something that represents a organization. In our case, consider Communities Canada is an organization. So when you create a Azure account, free tier or otherwise, two things are created. One is Azure tenant that represents an organization, and one is Azure subscription. We will look into both of those. So tenant represents an organization. What does it mean? That product is currently called as Microsoft Entra ID. Previously, it was called as Azure AD. Microsoft also had a product called AD, Active Directory, which is not related to cloud and has been there for ages. People got confused that Azure AD is just a cloud version of AD. Azure AD is not just a cloud version of AD. So Microsoft changed the name from Azure AD to Entra ID. Instead of calling it as Azure Entra ID, Microsoft decided to call it as Microsoft Entra ID. Why? Because this tenant, sometimes people also call this tenant as a directory, because it is a directory of all of your users, groups, and all. So this tenant or directory or the new name Entra ID, everything is same. So this tenant or directory or Entra ID represents an organization, and it is not just for Azure Cloud. It is a common product for multiple Microsoft SaaS products, including Azure Cloud. So even if you are not using Azure Cloud, but your organization is using a Microsoft product such as Teams, then you already have a tenant. So when you start using Azure in such an organization, you will not be creating a new tenant, but instead you will be using the same tenant. But with Azure free tier account, you will be creating a new tenant because free tier account is for new customers, right? As it is mentioned, available only to new Azure customers. When you create this free tier account, Azure will create a tenant for you, as well as Azure will create a subscription for you. I'll show what a subscription is shortly. So here, with a free tier account, you will get few things. Free monthly amount of 20 plus popular services for 12 months. What does it mean? Some services, some tiers. For example, when you consider a virtual machine. So if you have watched the prerequisite, you know, cloud has different levels of abstractions, right? You have infrastructure as a service where virtual machines and all come. You have a platform as a service where in case of Azure App Services and all will come. You have serverless and more. So when it comes to virtual machines are just machines on cloud, right? Based on the capacity of a virtual machine like storage or the CPU capacity, etc., there will be different tiers or SKUs for this virtual machine. And some of these SKUs will be free for 12 months. It's not that all virtual machines will be free. Some of these will be free for 12 months. And when you say free for 12 months, for most services like virtual machines, it is like in a month, they will give X hours. For example, for virtual machine, it is 750 hours. So if you do the math, so now we are in February, right? February, we have usually only 28 to 29 days, but certain other months have 30 days, certain other months have 31 days. Irrespective of the number of days, maximum will not cross 750. So that is why they have put it as a 750. But if you are using two virtual machines parallelly, then this 750 will be divided by those two virtual machines. So you will only be able to run these two virtual machines for only half of the month. So this type of free services are available for 12 months. And there are certain services that are always free. And also you will get a $200 credit to play around with the services that are not part of these lists. But this 200 will be only for the first 30 days. And you don't have to worry even if your 200 is over, unless you manually upgrade your subscription to pay as you go, you will not be charged. Your 200 is over or your 30 days over, it stops working. And only when you manually go to pay as you go, you will be charged. But why you need to pay using a credit card or you need to add your credit card? That is for validation. Because Microsoft don't want people to simply create free tier accounts and get the 200 credit. So it's mostly for validation. Your credit card, email, phone number, everything will be used for validation to make sure you are not creating it again. So if you haven't created a free tier account, I will suggest you go to try Azure for free and then create a free tier account. So if you face any issues, you can look to the session or video on how to create a free tier account. And as I mentioned, when you create, you will get two things, a tenant and a subscription. Once you create this free tier account, you got a tenant and you got subscription. So how do you log into this portal? So for that, you can go to portal.azure.com. I told about two things, right? I told about something called as a tenant, and I told you about something called as a subscription, right? So if I search for Microsoft Entra ID and go to Microsoft Entra ID, so this is your tenant. As I mentioned, a tenant represents an organization, and most of the organizations will have some domain name, right? Like a Communities Canada or something else. We can come here, you can go to a custom domain, and then you can add your custom domain name here, like your company domain name. And once you add, you will have to verify that the domain belongs to you. So for example, here heartinjk.com I have verified. However, cloudrex.com I haven't verified. So to verify, Azure will provide you with some information like a text record, MX record and all. You can configure it in your domain names control panel and click on verify to verify. So this Microsoft Entra ID, what you see here now, was previously called as Azure AD. So this is the place where you manage your users, groups, etc., etc., etc. But where do you manage your Azure resources? For Entra ID, you can also work with these in the newer entra.microsoft.com portal. Here, you don't have any option to manage your Azure resources. So that is why we have something called as a subscription. So when you go to a subscription, so when I create a Azure account, my tenant is created, my Entra ID is created, and also my subscription will be created. So you will see a free tier account also here. So in this account, I'm not eligible for free tier, so you will not find any free tier account. But if you are creating new, or you can watch the session or recording on creating free tier account, you can see that a different kind of subscription will be created. But once you go inside the subscription, everything is same. It is mostly different on how the billing happens. For example, here I have two subscriptions, Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. This comes part of a Visual Studio Enterprise license or subscription. And also you have a pay as you go dev test subscription. So this is a special kind of a subscription where you'll be charged less, especially you'll not be charged for the Microsoft licensing course, so that you can save some money for your development or test systems. But you will have to shut down your VMs and all regularly to make sure you are not using it for protection. You can also manually add subscriptions here. It will check for your offer eligibility. So as you can see, free trial is not available for me since I am not a new user. The pay as you go means you just pay for your usages. That's a normal subscription. If you're a student, you can go for Azure for Students. There are also other subscriptions you can check for eligibility and apply as needed. But once you get a subscription, a free tier subscription or any other kind of subscription, you can go inside that subscription. So this subscription is where your credit card or payment mechanism is connected. So if I come to billing, I can look into invoices and other things. So there are different kinds of subscriptions. So one is your regular pay-as-you-go subscription. You provide your credit card, you'll be charged. And for some subscriptions like the Visual Studio Enterprise subscription, you will be provided with a certain amount of credits, and you can use services until that credits are over. And after that, you will have to either provide a credit card to get more credits to continue usage, or you can wait until your next credit comes. So this subscription here is a billing boundary. So that means if you have multiple departments and each department has to pay using their own credit cards, so then they can create different subscriptions for different departments. But if the company as a whole is paying for different departments using the company card, so then there are other ways in which you can segregate cost. You can create tags for resources, and then you can go to a cost management, cost analysis, and then you can segregate costs based on tax. Maybe a department equal to ABC. So subscription is a billing boundary. So that I assume everybody are clear. Next, subscription is also a permission boundary. So what do you mean by permission boundary? If you go to Microsoft Entra ID, so this is where we manage users, right? So subscription has to be always associated with a tenant. You see this option to change directory, right? So sometimes your tenant will be called as tenant, sometimes it will be called as directory, sometimes it will be called as Entra ID. Always remember all of these things are same. So that is one confusion people generally get in the beginning. So if you click on change directory, it means you are changing your tenant or changing your Entra ID. But at one particular point of time, your subscription can be only associated with a single tenant. So this is my tenant or directory or Entra ID. So this is where I'll be adding users. So when I go to add, I have two options: create a new user, invite an external user. So if you are providing me with your email ID, I'll be inviting you as a external user. Or if you go to user, create a new user. So here you can give a name for user, maybe demo user, and whatever domains I have verified. So this is a default domain. I have also verified heartinjk.com. So whatever domains I have verified, it will come here. For example, if you are a company like Communities Canada, domain is verified communitiescanada.ca, it will come here. So you can create your users with the company domain name. So now this subscription is associated with this tenant, right? So whatever users I have in this particular tenant, I can give permission to manage Azure resources within this subscription. So Azure resources needs a subscription to work because that is where your billing happens, right? And Azure will not give you anything without making sure you can pay for the services you use, either through credits or through your credit card or through a reseller. If you go to this link, access control IAM. So this is where you give permission. You can check access. You can see what access you have. You have a few different options here, or you can go to role assignments and see the existing assignments, or you can go to roles and see what are the roles available. So you have three main roles here: owner, contributor, reader. So first of all, we can see reader. Reader means you can see details about all the Azure services deployed under this subscription. Contributor means you can work with everything. You can work on all services. You can create, delete, you can work on all services. Owner means it is similar to contributor, but owner can also give permission. So reader means you can see everything. Contributor means you can work on everything. Owner means you can work on everything as well as you can give permission to others. But these permissions are a little bit heavy, right? There are different services, right? So for example, you have a virtual machine. So here we have something called as a virtual machine contributor. So rather than giving the contributor permission that will allow you to work on everything, it is always best to give individual permissions that are just needed for a particular job role. So if your job role needs you to only work with the virtual machine, why give the full contributor? So such roles are generally categorized under privileged roles. Under privilege roles, I have owner, contributor, and a few different roles. User access administrator can give permission to others. In general, you don't have to give privilege roles to users. You give job function roles that are specific to Azure services. And you can click on add, and you can click on add role assignment and select the role you want to give to the user. Click on next, and you can click on select members. When you click on select members here, what will happen? It will allow you to select members that are part of your associated directory. Okay, you can select a group or user or a service principal that is part of your associated directory, not anywhere else. And then you can click on next and assign permission. So this is how you assign permission for somebody to a subscription. Do we have to give permission to a subscription as a whole? Not always, right? When it comes to billing boundary, it is only a subscription. But when it comes to a permission boundary, Azure gives you different levels or hierarchy. So within your subscription, resources are the last level, right? Before creating a resource, you can create a resource group to group the resources. within your subscription, you can go to resource groups and click on create, and you can give a resource group name, maybe forum CA. Next, next, create. So I can refresh. So my new resource group has come here. Whenever we create a resource, so now we can go and try to create a resource. I can create from within this resource group itself. I can click on create, and it will take me to Azure's marketplace. From here, I can create resources that are provided by Azure or even other people. If I click on Azure services only, or if you know the resource name in particular, like virtual machine, you can search here also like virtual machine, and then work with virtual machine. So I can go to virtual machines from here, or I can go from here and directly click on create, or I can come here to the virtual machines page, and from here also I can click on create a virtual machine. So it's almost same, right? So since I have created it from within the forum CA resource group, the resource group is already selected. But if I directly go, you can select the resource group, or you can even create a new resource group here. So whenever you create most of the services within Azure Cloud, you have to provide subscription and resource group to start with. So let us go back to our resource group. So this resource group also has the same access control IAM link that we saw for our subscription. And if I come here to virtual machine, you don't have to worry about a virtual machine if you are new. Consider it as just any other Azure service. Like most Azure services, you will have to provide a subscription because Azure needs to make sure where the money will come. And a resource group, it is a logical grouping. You can select an existing one or create new. And then a name for the service, Artins VM. Then you will have to provide a region. So cloud means you don't have to store anything on your machine, right? So you are using somebody else's machine, but that somebody else's machine has to be hosted somewhere physically, right? So that is region. So there are geographies like US, India, etc. And within those geographies, you have regions. Within US, you have multiple regions like East US, West US, etc. Within India, you have Central India, etc. So if you search for India here, you can see Central India is in the recommended list, and South India and West India are in the other list. It is always better to use recommended ones because recommended ones will have most of the features. Some of the features may not be available in non-recommended ones. For example, if you consider East US, here you can see many options like availability zones, virtual machine scale set, availability set, etc. If I select something from non-recommended or the other, maybe West Central US. So here, if you see, availability zone is not available. So when you go for the other options, you may not see availability option and some features. But if you want all the features, then go with the recommended region. Region, it's within a geography. Geography is US, India, etc. And within that, you have various regions. And within those regions, you will have availability zones. So what are availability zones? So availability zones are one or more data centers that are sitting together with many common things such as power, cooling, etc. They are considered as one unit. In Azure, you cannot select your particular data center. The smallest unit is availability zone so that you can decide on what set of data centers. So sometimes it could be one data center, sometimes it could be more. Okay, so as you can see, I can either select what availability zone I want, like zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 within this region, or I can let Azure select the zone. Okay, that feature is not available in all regions. Azure selected zone is not supported in region East US. We select some other region where it is supported. then you can select that. So Azure will choose say zone for you rather than you manually selecting 1, 2, or 3. So when you create a resource, you'll have to select a subscription and resource group, then name, region, availability options. Let us keep it simple. And then that resource specific configuration. So we are creating virtual machine. So it needs a operating system. So you need to select the image for that operating system. Okay, so you can configure all other things. We are not worried about other things right now. We'll have a separate session for most of the services, but our goal is to just show how to create a resource. And if everything is okay, we can click on create. So since I selected a Linux based system and also I selected SSH key based authentication, I'll have to download my private key because Azure will not store private key, it will only store public key. So if I have my private key, then Azure can compare it with my public key and make sure it is me who is connecting. So if you are not familiar with these concepts of public private key, you can do let me know and I will explain it either today or in a different session. We already have other virtual machines to experiment, right? This is creating. If I go to any of the resources like virtual machine, they are also the same option that we saw for subscription, the same option that we saw for resource group, the access control IAM, you can see here also. Once you go to access control IAM, it is all same. You can check your access, you can see role assignments, you can see roles, you can assign roles, everything is same. You can give permission at the subscription level, resource group level, resource level. So all of these are called as permission boundaries. And you have one more permission boundary, which is called as management groups. You can search for management groups. So management groups can group multiple subscription. So there is a tenant root group, and within that we can create any number of management groups, and we can put our subscriptions under any of these management groups to group them together and give permissions together. And if you go to any of these management groups, there also you will find access control IAM, the same access control IAM that we use with subscription, resource group, resource. When it comes to billing boundary, it is just a subscription. But when it comes to permission boundary, you have a management group, which is on the top. Then you have a subscription. Under that, you have a resource group. And under that, you have resources. And one important note, so if you come here, so here also you will see some kind of permissions and all, right? Like agent ID, administrator, agent developer, some roles, right? So these roles are Entra ID roles. And these roles are whatever you see here, roles. So these are Azure specific roles. So in general, people call these as Entra ID roles or administrative roles, and these as Azure roles or RBAC roles. Technically speaking, both are RBAC because it is a role-based access control. But traditionally, people generally refer to this as Azure RBAC roles, and these are Entra ID roles. Azure RBAC roles include owner, contributor, reader, etc. And Entra ID roles include agent ID, administrator, agent ID, developer. So here with Azure RBAC roles, owner is the most powerful role. And here the most powerful role is global administrator. And this role is shared across multiple Azure SaaS products. It's not specific to Azure. When it comes to doing labs for AZ 104, as of now, module 1 is about identity, and rest of the modules are about Azure resources and resource management. So module 1, you need only Entra ID to perform the labs. And module 2 onwards, you will need a subscription. And for module 1, if you have created a free tier account, you would have already got a free tenant and a subscription. Subscription is not here. So as long as you log into this tenant regularly, this tenant will be free forever. But your free subscription has some limits. And after that, you'll have to upgrade to pay as you go to continue using it. But tenant, as long as you are continuing to use it, at least logging in regularly, you will have that tenant available and is free. So you have mini labs within your AZ 104 course. And if you are part of a buddy cult, there also you can see many labs that are part of the identity or module 1. Those labs, some of them will need P1, P2 license. I'll tell you what that license is. And most of them are free. All the free ones you can do in your own free tenant. Just go to this tenant and do. And for the P1, P2 part, you can go to licenses, free trial. Okay, you can click on get a free trial and you can select one of these options. So Microsoft Entra ID P2, you can click on activate. One important thing to note here is that when you currently activate a free trial for P2, it will ask you to create a new tenant. You can provide a new email and a new tenant will be created. So that will be different from this tenant. So you will not be able to see the licenses here. So whatever email you provide here while you create, you have to log into that tenant to work with any labs that need a P1, P2. You can even do the labs that do not need P1, P2 also in that different tenant. So that will be a different user altogether, right? So different email means it will be a different user and a different tenant. Sometimes you will have a single email with multiple tenants or multiple directories. For example, I am working for a company. If you are working with a client and client is inviting you to their tenant, your user will now have access to multiple tenants. Even in the labs that I provide or Buddy Cult provide, so you will have multiple tenants, right? So you'll be given access to some tenant. So from your tenant, how do you go to the other tenant? Because subscription is associated with the other tenant, right? For module 1, you will be doing labs on your own tenant, your own free tenant. But from module 2, you can do it on your own subscription. But if you don't have a free subscription or don't want to get charged, you can request for a subscription access. So basically, you will be given access to a tenant that has a subscription. So you need to change from your tenant to my tenant. How do you do that? So you'll go to your user here, and then you have this option called switch directory. And then you'll see my directory, whatever directory you got access from me, you just click on that directory and you'll be taken to that directory. Do not worry about the permission issues here. And then once you come to my directory, and if you have been given access to a subscription, you will see that subscription. And in case of Buddy Cult Labs, mostly there will be a folder with your name where you can deploy all of your resources. So that is how you can work with different directories. But for the P1, P2 license, it will be a completely new email address. In that case, you will not be able to switch directory. Instead, you just sign out and sign into that directory. One tip I give people, especially when they are working with different email addresses, is you create different profiles for your browser. In Chrome, you can create different Chrome profiles. So if you come here, I can add a Chrome profile. So one user will not interfere with the other user. So if you have different emails, just create them and work with them. So if you have created a P1, P2 license with a different email, create a different profile, log in there with that email, and then work with the labs. So module 1 identity lab for AZ104 does not need a subscription. So you don't have to request for a subscription from Buddy Cult. You can use your free tenant. And as of now, when you try to create a free tier account, sometimes it will tell you, okay, you are not eligible. But even if it says you are not eligible, in most cases, a free tenant would have created. So you can just log into your portal.azure.com and go to switch directory and see if you can see a directory there. If directory is not there, it was not created. But mostly you will at least have a directory. Under subscriptions, you will not see anything if the free tier eligibility is not there. But at least the free tenant will be created, and using that free tenant, you can do your identity labs or module 1 for AZ104. Okay, I hope you have now a decent idea to get started with Azure Cloud. And also, if you are a student at buddycult.com, you know when to request for lab access. So if you go to buddycult.com, so let me go from here as a logged out user, you can go to your library and you can see courses, right? You can see your Forum CA course or AI course or DA course or any other course that is added after this session. Or cookbooks is where you do the labs. There will be more cookbooks added soon. So if you are into Azure AI course, you can look into the Azure AI cookbooks. Or if you are into Forum CA, you can look into the Azure cookbooks like Azure 01, Azure 02, Azure 03, Azure 04, etc. So this Azure 01 is for module 1, identity essentials. So here you will be able to see the labs that you can practice on your own free tenant. But from Azure 02 onwards, you will need a subscription to deploy your resources. You can use your free subscription, or you can request the Buddycult team to allocate you a subscription to practice labs for a particular cookbook. Also, whenever you get the free time, there are many videos available. So this playlist is just one of the playlists that is cloud independent, right? So you also have other playlists, including Azure networking specific, Azure AI specific, and even Azure Cloud fundamentals. Watch some of these. Do learn continuously, and try to schedule calls with me to discuss about your career or learning plan, and let us stay focused. Assuming there are no more questions or queries, bye bye for now, and see you all in next class.